And you want to know? I love you, man.
The site is now.
We are the chosen of
Now I want to get more into the building, painting, and kind of wargaming part of the hobby. First, let's get into the building. I guess building slash painting. There's another aspect of the hobby that people get into in Warhammer, and it's not even like they don't really care about the lore or even play the games, like the tabletop games. They just love the model. And I gotta say, Games Workshop makes probably one of the best models out there for tabletop, just in general. Not even just wargaming, just the models themselves. And there are so much talented people out there who know how to paint, build, and also like kit bash, which if you don't know what kit bashing is, essentially you're taking bits and pieces of other models and kind of forming them together to make your own unique piece. There's so many cool ones like out there. Seeing some of them, I am speechless. They're so good, and it's also one thing I like about the hobby or Warhammer in general is essentially builds from my creative side. There's something about it where my creative brain neurons activate. When I see these bash models and painting them, something about them like I want to build that. I want to make something as cool as that, which I really like. Yeah, there are some really cool ones, and I hopefully one day I can kit bash and make. I really want to try kit bashing. There's something about making your own unique thing that it really appeals to me in a creative way. And then there's the painting. Painting is honestly something that I come to realize is very tranquil. It's meditative. I'm so focused into it that it's like almost like meditation for me. It helps me de-stress. There's something about it I can't really say. It's calming. I'm just there painting the models, whether they're good paints or not. Depending on how good the day is, I just get focused in. It's something really peaceful. I do recommend painting. Honestly, for a lot of new people, is probably the one thing that that turns off a lot of people. There's something about it where it's very daunting, and I want to say for those who are worried about painting is don't really worry about it and kind of start. If you're really worried about how your models are, there's tutorials out there to help people to make really decent models. I'll post some of my first models here, and these are just from simple things I learned from tutorial. And don't worry if it's not going to be that good. I mean, mine are probably not that good. There's like, no one starts off really good. If it's your first time, honestly, like 99% of the community, it's a very small portion of this community that are really going to look at your models and say it is like, what is this piece of dog shit? What is this doo-doo feces am I looking at? It's so small. Majority of people are going to actually give you constructive criticism, like help you, give you tips, like, oh, maybe you should do it like this or that. You should probably water your paint a little bit, but hey, good job. They're gonna support you and elevate you to keep doing more because we in the community really like to see that. I love seeing people's paints, even if they're not even that good. And some of the cursed ones out there, there's a charge in them, even though some of them are really bad or not. But like, I like them, and I want people to get better. But I can understand for some people, maybe it's not their thing. They might not get anything out of the painting, and it's probably more work as it is. But, there's also people out there who will paint for you. Like, you could pay for commissions for basic, simple paints that will paint your army or your squad or whatever. But I do recommend people at least give it a try once and keep on trying. My newest paints I feel like my first models that I painted were a lot better, but then again, they were a lot more simple than Chaos Space Marines. But, it's neither here nor there. And now, wargaming, the gaming part. I don't have a lot of experience in wargaming or in tabletop in general. I mainly played D&D when I was stationed in Okinawa, but so far what I played is a little bit of Kill Team, 40k, Combat Patrol, and a game called One Page Rules, which I do recommend to people who want a more cheap and simple game to get into. It's really fun. I got played with a couple of my friends, kind of the really basic core rules of it, and we had a good time. It's also free, which, big plus. But I remember when I tried to get into the gaming aspect of the game, when I first bought the 7th and 8th edition box set, not doing any research, but I knew I was probably like, when did I buy them? Oh no, this is after I got out of boot camp, when I came back from leave as a fresh boot. For those who don't know what a boot is, it's just a newbie. Fresh off the lot boot, and I bought, because I had money, I bought the 7th and 8th edition box set, and I was like, you know, whenever I'm home, I'm going to paint them and, you know, play with these later. And then I come to realize, oh, I have to build them. I have to put it together. I have to do the work. And my lazy brain was like, no, thank you. Put it simply. But, I don't know, came back, I gave it a shot. So those boxes I did not build first. First models I ever built were not even 40k, they were AOS models. And those were my first ever built and painted models. But then I started getting into building those and got into Kill Team, because I've been seeing a lot of cool things. It's like, it's a small skirmish game that you can just play with your friends. It's simple. Rules are simple, which they kind of are compared to 40k. 4 rules are a lot more simpler than 40k's, but I wouldn't call it simple. There are some aspects to it that for a guy and his friends who never played tabletop games, at least in my hometown, it's a bit weird, kind of confusing. I'm not really good at explaining or teaching things, if this video wasn't obvious enough, but it is like, it's a fun game. I do recommend Kill Team if you want to get more like in 40k tabletop, but you don't want to get into the big stuff or spend a lot of money on the models. I do recommend Kill Team. Essentially, you just need like a box or two, and that's it. Terrain, or if you want to go Warhammer, which is whatever you have in the house for terrain, and a couple dice, and that's it. And I guess, I mean, you don't really need the tokens. You could make those tokens easily. That's like probably the cheapest part, is you don't actually need to buy the tokens. You could literally go to Etsy or just get some paper and just draw it yourself, like the thing. And then that happened, and then I started to get into 40k when 10th edition came out, because I tried to get it, the end of 9th, but the whole building aspect and whatnot was just hurting my brain. For whatever reason, I couldn't get around how to army list build. For any veterans out there who's watching, who knows that, like, how can you not know? It's simple. For someone who's smooth brain as I am, it is not that simple. So I couldn't get into it. But when 10th edition came out, and they simplified the list building aspect of it, and they kind of did the whole data card thing, which I really like. I want to get into Horus Heresy, but Horus Heresy doesn't really have the exact same data cards as 10th, probably for reasons. But if they have something similar, close to that, I would probably like Heresy more. I want to get into Heresy, but I'll get into that later. It made list building and more simple for me to get in. I was understanding more of the game better, and I was getting more into it. And now I only played like 2 combat patrol games, one with my brother, one with my friend. So I mean, they were okay games, we had fun, but I could kind of get the sense that it's a bit, I don't want to say boring, but it's confusing. It's a bit confusing for me trying to explain the whole strength versus toughness system and all that, compared to something like one-page rules, which is a lot simpler of a war game and pretty fun. There's stuff to make it complex, they have stuff to make it more complex, but the basic rules is just pure simple. But 10th edition is something I want to get into and play more. I'm still learning the rules. There's some things that are spilled out to me, but someone has to do it Barney style for me to fully comprehend on some of the aspects of the rules. But I want to play more games to get a better understanding. And then there's one-page rules, which is essentially 40k. It's 40k adjacent, or Warhammer adjacent, in the sense of you could use Warhammer models, but you don't need to know Warhammer to play the game or anything. It's its own game. You can just play it. It was built and made so you could use your models if you wanted to. You don't have to. You could use different models. You could probably even use like toy soldiers, like the Green Army men that you see for like the dollar store. You could probably use those, and then it'll be fine. But do that. That's a fun game. I do recommend it. It's also free. And there's Horus Heresy, which I have not played yet. I have the box set, and I also have the battle group for the Mark III armor set, which is like a more thicker looking armor. I like the whole industrial look. That's why I got it. I also just want to play more, try Heresy out, because for what I know, 10th is more competitive in the sense there's like literal tournaments to play competitive games, and Horus Heresy is more narrative, which is like kind of more playing with your pals or your friends, just kind of making a cool story out of a battle. So hopefully one day I can get more of my friends to play Kill Team or 40k or Heresy, or even Age of Sigmar. One of my friends right now he's really into Lord of the Rings, and I'm thinking maybe we could do kind of more fantasy aspect of AOS, Age of Sigmar, which would be cool, but we'll see in the near future. Another thing I want to talk about in the hobby is media aspect, the fan art, the homebrew, the writing, the just everything about it, which is there's so much creativity from this universe inspires so many people and so much creativity that it is really awesome to see fan art, animation, film, and even writing. People writing their own legions, chapters, or little sub factions to go along this universe. One of the biggest appeal about this universe is that it's more than one thing. It's a setting. It has rules of what it is, and it gives you pretty much like a pen and paper and be like, here's the rules, do whatever you want. As long as you meet the kind of like the rules of this universe, close to the boundaries of it, you know, do whatever you want with it, which I love. People making their own homebrew chapters and seeing the kind of unique aesthetic and just their own style and flair is so awesome. It makes me want to make my own Space Marine chapter. I'm already thinking of doing kind of a weird alliance chapter thing where it's 3 previous Chaos Marines that I really like. The Death Guard, Night Lords, and World Eaters. Well, they're the loyalist side. They remain loyal, and they're kind of in this part of the far sector of the galaxy or whatever. And they kind of form this like a little alliance where they're kind of like a mini legion in a sense. And themselves are not, but together they are. Something like that. I want to make my own. I'm so inspired by seeing other people work and just to make something cool. There's also, like I said, the art, the animation, the films. There's so much fan films and anime. Well, okay, there was a lot of fan film and animation and stuff. Okay, so here's something about Games Workshop. For those who think I'm like brown nosing them, they make a lot of stuff that I like, but they do a lot of weird things that I don't like. And it's weird decisions that I would never think that it's a good business decision. There's something about it's weird. So for those who don't know, so Games Workshop has their own streaming service where they show a lot of things that you can get on YouTube for free, but they have little benefits where they have exclusive models and stuff that you can get. So during this, they're making their own shows, but because of that, they started copywriting and taking down channels on YouTube who are making their own fan films and animation, which I think is really stupid because these guys are the reason why Warhammer is getting popular. It's showing audience who never been, and this is during the pandemic, mind you. So a lot of people were getting into Warhammer because they're stuck in their homes, they're bored, they want to do something, and they just want something new and different, and they got into Warhammer. So having the people who introduce people to Warhammer literally boosting your sales just from exposure alone, and they're not getting paid for it, they're doing it out of their own passion because they love this universe, and you're just copyright striking them. It's such a bizarre and dumb business decision. I don't fully understand. I could kind of make sense of it, of like, okay, we need our own streaming service, so we need people to come to our service. We can't have people go into the free stuff. I could kind of make sense of that, but at the same time, like, why? The only good thing that came out of the whole, I say good thing in quotations, heavy quotation, is that one guy, I forget his name, I'm gonna name here, he made the Astartes mini-series. If you don't know what it is, it's one of the best Warhammer fan films out there. It is one guy who did it, and the production is movie-like, beyond movie-like. He made this animation of Space Marines, closest thing how Space Marines are in lore terms, and it's this movie-quality production made by one guy, and it's the best thing out there. Even to this day, when I watch certain scenes, I get goosebumps. I'm just... it's one of those things that I can always keep watching and never get bored of. It is awesome. I do recommend it. That guy got hired, is working on animation for Games Workshop, which I thought was really cool. And then I remember they also screwed over another animator who made some quality, maybe not too graphically to the extent, but the animation's really good. Sodas. His name is Sodas. I'm pretty sure. I'm going to put it up here, right here. You can see it. Or he made some awesome Games Workshop Warhammer animations. They're really good. They got me more into Warhammer watching that point. I was just kind of like dabbling in the lore and stuff, like listening to the book, but now because of watching him, I got more into the universe because they're just that good. And then Game Workshop, they tricked him. They told him, hey, we want to hire you, but we need you to take your videos down, and he did that, and they never got back to him, and they screwed him over, which sucks. And this man made really good animations, and I mean, he's working on other stuff. I'm glad that he moved on and he's still making things. I do recommend his channel if you want to see cool animation, his Stalker stuff. He made a Halo animation, which is a lot better than the Halo show, at least the season 1. I haven't seen season 2. So far, season 2 looks a little more promising, but that's not really a high bar compared to what they did. And right now I'm pretty sure he's doing a Fallout New Vegas animation, the NCR versus the Brothers of Steel, which so far is really good. I'm really excited to see that. So I recommend his channel. Go give it a watch. Give him love and support. I'm trying to think before I move on, they also took out the best Warhammer fan show out there. If the Emperor had a text-to-speech, God rest his soul, that show got more people into Warhammer than anything else. I love that show. That's another thing that got me. I say a lot of things get me into Warhammer. That was probably the earliest thing that got me more into it. Just watching that and seeing that getting taken down, it was a big heartbreak for the community. That was a sad day, and to this day it's still a sad day thinking about that and seeing it's no longer there. You can still watch him. He hasn't took the video down, but so far, because of the whole how things are, they're not making any more at least at this moment. But I do hope they have a video. They were playing a game called Turn Up 28, and it was very entertaining. I want them to make more of that. That's actually really, the way they did it is really fun and funny, entertaining. I hope to keep making more stuff like that. I really like it. But anyways, and the last part is, I want to say, at least that's it for the animation. But this last part I want to mention is the game, the video game. So for the video games, here's the thing with the Warhammer video game. There's a lot of good games out there, and there is a lot of bad games out there. So the video games can be a hit or miss. There's both 40k or fantasy. So far, there's a lot of bad games, or really not really essentially bad. A lot of mid game games are not really like something about them. It's not as entertaining. It's just boring. But for the few games that do stand out, they're really fun to play. Best games out there, like I said, Space Marines. Space Marines is a really fun game. You can see from the gameplay here that I'm still playing, and it's still fun. I'm still having fun playing this. I forgot how fun this game was. I haven't played it in so long, and I can't wait for Space Marine 2 to come out. Space Marine 2 is gonna be, yes, I can't wait. Loving it. Dawn of War series. Well, Dawn of War 1 and a bit of 2. I like 2. That might probably used to be a hot take. I think now it's a little more not as much. But I like Dawn of War 2. That's the first Dawn of War I got into. Thankfully or sadly, I don't know. I'll let you decide. Dawn of War 1 is probably the most renowned because it's like more close to the tabletop in the sense of look and feel. And then there was Dawn of War 3, which is not that fun of a game. Well, I don't want to say it's not fun. It's not true to what people want. So take that as you will, good or bad. I'll let you be the judge of that. There's the Total War Warhammer series, which is really fun. I'm not a big RTS guy. I try to get an RTS, but RTS itself is something I just can't comprehend or do right. My brain can't process as fast as like a Korean freaking RTS player. Those guys have that thing to a T. I'm like, they're running on Windows 11. I'm running on Windows Vista, to put it simply. All right, my brain it doesn't have a high enough processor for that, and it's slowly dying as it is. So it is what it is. But I did play the first Total War Warhammer with my friends, and it was a fun time. We had fun. For one of my buddies, we were playing each other, and we're not good in RTS, but playing each other is fun. I mean, two bad players trying to learn how to play. We had a good time. And seeing the model, like they're really good 3D models. Seeing the battles is really good. I love it. And for the first-person side, there's the Vermintide series, which is really fun. It's more like a Left 4 Dead style if you like something like that with your friend. And there's the Darktide. I really like Darktide. I know it doesn't have a good release start. Okay, I like the game. I know it still has a lot of bugs and fixes that it needs work, but I love Darktide, and I hope it gets better. And I can't wait. Me and my friends been playing Darktide for a while, and we love it. It's just fun, mindless, like violence. And there's also Bolt Gun. Bolt Guns are really fun. It's trying to go with the boomer shooter style, but it's more of an arena shooter, if anything. But that's also a fun game. I do recommend to people. I don't know how to end this video, so that's pretty much, these are reasons why I like Warhammer in the universe and what it is. Its grim dark setting is something encapsulating, and the community itself is really good. Hopefully this video was good enough for you guys to maybe get into Warhammer, or maybe kind of look into it. Probably not enough to fully entice you, I would say. I'm not that good at explaining things, and I probably said a lot of things that's gonna piss a lot of veterans off on the lore side of things. If you got this far in the video, I do hope that you enjoyed it and find this entertaining. This is something new. This is something I'm trying to do for one, to speak better, because I do kind of talk with a slur a bit, or like there's something there, I don't know. But and just to kind of have fun with it. Also, it's an excuse to talk about Warhammer. If I can talk about Warhammer, I'm gonna find an excuse to talk about it. I'm just one of those hyper nerds that love the freaking thing. I love this universe, and I also like the community. I'm not really involved in the community too much. I kind of just do stuff and do my own thing, and not really hang out. But I'm slowly getting into it, and the community, as I know, is very positive and welcoming. I mean, you'll find a couple bad apples, but that's any big community. You're gonna find a couple bad apples. It happens. But overall, it's a pleasant community, and I hope, if not convince you, at least entice you to this universe. Yeah, like, favorite. No one even says favorite anymore. Like, subscribe, share this video if you can, or if you like, and leave a comment. Let me know if you like this video or not, or if you're already a fan of Warhammer and you're just listening to some random dude with a bad mic rambling about Warhammer. Hey, tell me what your favorite faction is, or like your Xenos, or what do you like about the hobby? I actually want to know out there what people like about this universe. I'm a big fan. I told you my reasons. But what's yours? Well, I'm honestly curious. Anyways, thank you for watching. This is Puma Cube. I'm Dead Bandito, signing off.